Meeting of the Village Board of Trustees. It is Tuesday, October 21st, and 6 o'clock p.m., and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Barbian.
Present.
Trustee Sau.
Here.
Trustee Unger.
Here.
Trustee Feckmeyer.
Here.
Trustee McFall.
Here.
Trustee Olet.
Here.
And President Zaborowski is absent.
In the absence of President Zabrowski, we'll entertain a motion for a temporary chairperson for tonight's meeting.
I'll make a motion to nominate Trustee Barbian as chair. Second.
Third. Any discussion?
Fourth.
And roll call, please.
Trustee Barbian.
Abstain.
Trustee Sau.
Aye.
Trustee Unger.
Aye.
Trustee Feckmeyer.
Aye.
Trustee McFall.
Aye.
Trustee Olet.
Aye.
Thank you. Appreciate it. First item that I'd like to ask the village board to approve the regular and special board meeting minutes of October 7th, 2025, along with the special board meeting minutes of October 10th, 2025. We've all had them prior and had a chance for review, look for any changes. Could I have a second?
Second motion?
Are there any changes or any additions that anybody would like?
No.
I see none, so I'd ask for a roll call.
Trustee Barbian.
Aye.
Trustee Sau.
Aye.
Trustee Unger.
Aye.
Trustee Feckmeyer.
Aye.
Trustee McFall.
Aye.
Trustee Olet.
Yes, thank you. The next item on the agenda for tonight is the citizens' comments. The first one, there will be a second one later. Persons wishing to address the board as one are asked to state their name and their address of residence for the record and limit the comments to only one time and limit their comments to 3 minutes or 5 minutes if representing a group of persons. Citizens' comments shall be limited to a period not to exceed 30 minutes. Public comments should be addressed to the village board as a body. Any questions or comments directed to an individual trustee or staff person will be deemed out of order. Please note that the village board can only discuss matters listed on this agenda. I'm opening citizens' comments then. It's open. Thank you.
Good evening.
Go.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Renee Smith, and I live at 5591 Basswood here in Greendale. I'm here tonight to express concern about the proposed change to Milwaukee County Transit System Bus Route 24, and to respectfully ask the board to adopt a resolution opposing that change. The proposed change would eliminate the portion of Route 24 that comes from Southridge Mall into Greendale, stopping at Northway and Broad Street. This section of the route is small but very important. It connects residents, employees, and visitors to our downtown area, and it gives people without cars an easy way to reach local shops, services, and the mall. Removing this segment would isolate parts of Greendale from public transit, making it harder for seniors, students, and workers to get around, and reducing foot traffic for our village businesses. Greendale has always valued accessibility and community connection. Preserving this route segment supports both of those values. I respectfully urge the village board to pass a resolution opposing the elimination of the Greendale portion of Route 24 and to communicate that position to MCTS and the Milwaukee County Board. I want to add that there is a proposed fare increase from $1, it's only $1, to $1.25 for seniors, and I'm sure they could increase that even more if that was a factor. A vote by the county board could be as early as November 4th, and then this change would take effect January 11th, 2026. Thank you for your time and for your continued commitment to the people of Greendale.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming up.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else for the first citizens' comments?
My name is Byron Dixon. I live at 6780 Crocus Court in Greendale. I just want to point out, I want to agree with Renee. The 24 route and having a bus of one sort or another through the village has been very important to me. Even when I had a car, I would take the bus. It saves a lot of pollution going into the air, and I think that's a major problem. Besides that, it's good exercise to walk to the bus. For a variety of reasons, I like to take the bus. I've been doing it for decades, as a matter of fact, right from this bus stop across the street. So I would hope that that as Renee suggested, that you could let the people in the county know. I don't know that they have much to say anymore about what's going on. I think it comes down to the state and the federal government deciding that they need to support public transit instead of widening expressways and getting people who are one person in a car going, let's do mass transit, let's do bus, let's do public transit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other people in the first citizens' comments? There will be another one later. I'm closing the citizens' comments section. Thank you for those who came up to speak. First is of the standing committee reports is the Finance Committee. First item on the Finance Committee is discussion necessary action on a resolution providing for the sale of approximately $3,490,000 in general obligation promissory notes, Series 2025A. This is FC 2536. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Brian Raymer here with Ellers. Thank you for having me here tonight. There's kind of three main components to this. Is essentially you're looking for financing needs for certain projects that are listed within this plan. Basically, reviewing options, it came down to offering this in the public market. As you have similar financing transactions in the past, makes the most sense. We then estimate where those rates are going to be, and speaking with staff earlier this year, we kind of had a interest rate bump that we wanted to avoid. You had the cash to kind of float for the stuff that you needed for 2025, and now is the time to kind of strike before year end so that your cash position doesn't dip for the audited financials. And the interest rates have gone down significantly. So with that, I know you guys issue often, so I can kind of go past all of this contextual data rather quickly and just kind of jump to the tables, because we're not offering this any differently. Again, getting it rated, going out to the open market, it's bank qualified, all of the things that you kind of normally see, so I don't want to repeat. If you're interested in the capital list, sorry, that's very small, but there's a lot of items on it. That's what you can kind of glean from table 1. So I'm not going to go line by line here because that'll take a lot of time. So we can go to the next table.
Brian,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. Do you want to just note which projects, because this is
Oh, sure.
part of 2025 and
Yeah.
26?
One element there, and speaking with staff, originally the plan was kind of just the 2025 projects when it was earlier in spring, but now that we're kind of getting closer to the end of the year and looking at kind of the longer range plan that we always come back early in the winter for, if you may remember, kind of after your budget season, we come do that financial management plan. We're kind of looking at future borrowing needs and decided it might be a better idea to kind of divvy this up, one, because of the big interest rate dip and just a good situation where the market is right now. Two, for bank qualification purposes and essentially trying to keep the net of who can bid on this as large as possible by keeping the borrowing amounts under 10 million for the year. So adding some of the 2026 capital needs can provide that benefit for those goals. So We then take the capital needs, so the 3.409 from the previous table, divvy that up kind of by purpose. One of the primary reasons for doing this, structuring the equipment items for a shorter period of time, understanding it has a shorter service life, and then repayment source, so the stormwater utility, water utility, and sanitary sewer utility. So that's kind of why we have all of these purposes divvied up and allocating, the issuance expenses and interest earnings, et cetera. So that's kind of, this is the table that derives how we get from 3.409 million of project cost to 3.90 of total notes size. So if we want to go to the next page, and actually 2 pages, that's probably more of an amortization schedule that's more helpful for staff. Impact-wise, this is a table that identifies the tax impact. So we take your existing debt in the blue sections. In the orange section is adding this issuance. And then you'll see the next 3 columns in the orange section under abatements. What that means is there are other sources of revenue paying towards the debt service. Therefore, we do not need to levy for that payment. And we get a resulting net debt service levy with existing debt plus this new debt. And so we have a flat levy here impact. Essentially, all other things being equal, if sale day exactly happened like this, it would only mean $831 more needed for the 2026 budget. And beyond that, we have decreasing debt levy for the intentional purpose of structuring in future debt service, right, as needed. So the big message here is, right, there are new payments. So it's technically more debt than exists today, of course, but over the life of the debt, to a sample property value of $350,000 in the orange, dark orange box there, happy Halloween, $454.90 impact over the life of the debt for this specific borrowing. So that's how much it costs that sample taxpayer. But the difference in debt service taxes, rightmost column, it's decreasing still for your debt. Again, we've structured this intentionally so that as necessary, you can structure in new debt. So advantageous even adding in the 2026 projects here situation where when you do borrow in 26 for, the remainder of 2026 projects and maybe 27 projects, we'll kind of advocate for that and identify options at that time. You would have a debt drop off of about $137,000 for the 2027 budget that we could structure in for future financing. Then on the next page, this just looks at your general obligation debt capacity. By the state constitution, you're only allowed 5% of your total value. That includes tax incremental district value as well. So your debt limit is at year end 2025. You can have 109 million outstanding in debt. That's a limit, not a goal. Your existing debt right now is 18.6, adding the 3.49 as shown in orange. You'll have now existing debt of 22.1 million, or 20% of this limit with an additional capacity for 87 million. You do have a self-limiting policy limit. That goal, you're at 20, or kind of that limit, you're at 27% of that with a residual about 60 million or 59.8 million in residual capacity. Those are both very healthy places to be in, as we consistently talk about with Moody's, the rating agency. The village doesn't have a very high leverage profile or a debt outstanding. And then this page just identifies for those abatement sources, can those revenue sources kind of fit it in per their 2024 fiscal results? All of the utilities can is the simple message there. If one of these was below 1 or had a negative number in the rightmost column, that would likely incline that either the debt isn't structured properly or there's rate adjustments needed just for this borrowing. So obviously we do a bigger picture plan that's not just based off of 1 year and looks at the future 10 years for each utility. So that'll come again in January like we typically do. But for all intents and purposes on this, you can fit this within your current revenue profile of the utilities this borrowing. And then I think there's the final note. This is just kind of a chart index of where the market's been. Where we were in summer, kind of contemplating, June, which is about 3/4 of the way left to right. We were kind of at the high mark of the year. That's kind of why we decided to delay things outside of, contemplating how much should we borrow for. And then the market did come down as we kind of expected, as now towards year end, we do have a lot of municipal securities investors, kind of changing towards that tax exempt profile, for tax purposes, obviously. So healthy position to be in terms of when we're issuing relative to earlier in the year. So I can take any questions, otherwise you're welcome to go to your resolution.
I'd like to, first I'll make a motion and then ask for questions.
Sure.
The Finance Committee is recommending to approve the resolution providing for the sale of approximately $3,490,000 general obligationary promissory notes series 2025A as outlined.
Second the motion?
I'm going to open up for questions now. For me, I think this is just a very sound decision at present point in considering the overall financial situation of the village. I think this is a good thing to do, but I'd like to open up for questions. Trustee Olet.
Do we know what our rating is, or we won't know until we put it out to bid?
Yeah, we have a rating call, so every time that you go out, the rating agency kind of looks at the updated financial picture from the last time that they had a call. So the audit, the budget, kind of budgetary performance. And then they'll speak with staff to just kind of get some additional context. So I would imagine everything's kind of status quo. There haven't been any big changes, positive or negative, that would move the needle, in my opinion.
We were
So-
double A, right?
Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
Other questions? I see none, and I have a second, so I'd ask for a roll call on this item.
Trustee Barbian,
Aye.
Trustee Sal,
Aye.
Trustee Unger,
Aye.
Trustee Feckmeyer,
Aye.
Trustee McFall,
Aye.
Trustee Alette.
Thank you for the presentation. Very well done.
Thank you.
The font was a little small, though, I might add. You just watched, okay.
Yeah, you should have big signs.
I know. Next item on the Finance Committee is Finance Committee's internal audit review of bills presented for payment. Every month, this task is rotated among the trustees to pull P-card, checks, and ACHs randomly from what's presented for payment for this month and ask for the detail to back up the item, and then it's reviewed. This month, Trustee Unger had the assignment, and I'd like to turn it over to her.
So I pulled a number of items, and all the backup was sent to me. I submitted 3 or 4 questions to Stephanie and Jamie. And I guess the main question, and Stephanie may explain this better than me if she comes up and does a report, there was a check that was paid, and the backup to the check did not have any approval or initials on it, so I questioned why that was. And she said that the village is transitioning to a more digital process instead of a manual handwritten approval process, so.
Yeah.
But other than that, everything else was fine.
Do you want me just to give that, I was going to make that part of the next step, but I can give that quick update if you'd want,
Well, if you could give a update, that is a question
Sure.
I'd like answered.
related to that, yeah. So the village recently, and I have put in the weekly updates, but I did not formally inform the board of the change it would be. But the village did transition from a paper-based accounts payable system to an electronic accounts payable process system. So like Elaine said, when we're working on it, I realized I should have provided the board with a better update. So over the past few months, we implemented the workflow system that integrates directly with our accounting software. Department heads now submit and approve invoices electronically. So when you get the backup like Elaine did, it used to be stamped and signed by every department head and then myself. It is now signed, it's all digital, so our auditors will be able to log into the system and see the approvals that way. So once an invoice is submitted, it goes to me, then to the village manager first if it's over 5,000, and after that, it will go to our deputy clerk for final approval check processing. So just in summary, you may no longer see the physical signature of approvals on invoices, but we are required to approve all invoices directly through the system. And right now, this change only applies to AP checks and ACHs, but we hope to integrate our P cards into this digital workflow next year. Just a little more complicated.
So this change still meets all audit standards and monitoring of anything coming out of the,
Yes. Yeah, it's following all the standards. It's actually making it easier because our auditors will be able to log into this instead of us bringing out so much paper to them in this room. They'll be able to log in and view all these electronic approvals without our help,
okay.
except for P cards, of course.
How
There's
do
still-
we do the audit? Can we do-
So the system can't go anywhere else. We can't go back to the paper system, so just be rest assured that everything that goes through there has to be submitted by some department head. It can't go to me without a department head. Then it goes to me, or Mike, depending on the amount, and then it'll go to Beth. So we have 3 internal ways that it has to be approved. And so the workflow system has to work that way.
We don't have to worry about that part as audit.
Exactly. So if it's in there,
What
it's,
was suspended?
yes. We cannot manually enter checks anymore like we used to.
That backup's all available on request.
Yes.
Or she's saying you got the backup, but you just didn't see the.
It was an Anchor printing invoice, and I usually see your initials on it. I usually
Yep.
see Rod's initials, and I didn't see anything written on it, so that's why I questioned it.
Yeah, so it's just missing that physical signature. That's all in the accounts, why we point the electronic process. It says Rod, then Stephanie, then Beth, our deputy clerk, all approved it.
Other questions? Any questions for Elaine, who had the task this month?
Do the managers find that to be more cumbersome, or is it easier for them? Or have they not weighed in?
We had a couple meetings with department head when we started transitioning. It became up a few times, try to get their input. I think every department head would have an opinion, maybe, but
Oh, okay,
it is, I think, it can be a little bit more work on the department than it was on finance, but it makes the system more automated, and I think overall it's just a cleaner, much cleaner system.
okay.
But if they'd like to stamp it in, they can still do that. Just has to be scanned into.
Okay, thank you.
It's really nice to be able to pull invoices without having to, go in a drawer or ask Stephanie or someone else to find an invoice. If you want to pass invoices, just look it up.
Okay, so you were going into like a paper drawer previously or something?
Yeah,
Okay.
which is how P cards
Got
are
it.
still, yeah. And if you want to go back a year, we have to go to the basement, and
Oh, no.
we can only keep so much on this level. So we'll have
Okay.
this retained forever, so that'll be
Okay,
great.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You addressed that very well, thank you. I see no other questions for Elaine. I want to thank you very much for doing that this month. Trustee Feckmeyer, then you'll have it next month. Next item on the Finance Committee is approval. The approval of accounts payable checks for payment. Finance Committee is recommending the village board to approve accounts payable checks number 63467 through 63618 in the amount of $1,006,455.33. The ACH payments in the amount of $966,927.73. And the P card purchases for the month of the amount of $96,310.65 for a total disbursement this month of $2,069,693.71.
Second the motion?
Have a second. Any questions? All of us had a chance to browse through these at our choice. I see no questions, so I'll ask for roll call on this, please.
Trustee Barbian?
Aye.
Trustee Stout?
Aye.
Trustee Unger?
Aye.
Trustee Feckmeyer?
Aye.
Trustee McFall?
Aye.
Trustee Alette?
Thank you. Next item is status of accounts, August 31st, 2025. Your
You-
floor.
Looking at the budget to actuals of August, that is actually the estimate you will see in our 2026 recommended budget. We do expect the general fund to finish $875,000 under budget, which will increase our general fund balance up to $5.5 million.
That's great.
Yes, so the positive variances due to revenues are expected to come in about $309,000 over budget, mainly still due to interest earnings and citation revenue. And then we will be spending about $566,000 less than planned. In August, we completed the property tax collection for the 2024 tax year, a total of $258,000 in delinquent taxes were turned over to Milwaukee County for collection, so you will see the full tax levy reflected in this report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Stephanie? Doing very good for this year. Appreciate all your effort and those of the people who help you out. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes the Finance Committee's portion for tonight. We're going to move into any committee standing reports. Library, you said you don't have one?
I do.
You do, okay. You want to start out?
Sure.
Do you have anything for planning?
The library board met on October 15th. Manager Hawes attended the library board meeting, and he gave an overview of the village budget and the decision to look at replacing the Community Learning Center's roof before replacing the library's extremely worn and stained carpeting. So it makes more sense to look at replacing the roof so it doesn't leak on new carpeting.
Yeah.
And the carpeting is cleaned at least yearly. So they do try and maintain it, but it's in pretty poor shape. But the roof is going to get priority. A reminder that state aid revenue will see an estimated $9,200 decrease in 2026 for the library. The library will be relying more heavily on donations from the Friends of the Library for programming costs in 2026. The Friends of the Library typically helps fund things like the Explorer passes, the prizes for the summer reading program, and physical materials such as books and the STEM activity kits, but will now donate more toward programming. So the programming line item on the budget of the 2026 expenditures went down by $4,000, and the donations revenue increased by $4,000. Finally, the Whodunit Cozy Mystery event was a huge success. Thanks to Trustee Feckmeyer, McFall, and Sell, and President Sabrowski for attending. Special thanks to the Friends board members for their help, including Mike Cunningham, Dennis Tennant, Lori Hanlon, Kate Bratz, Andrea Bender, Carrie Terry, Emily McLaughlin, and Claudette Banner. Special thanks to Julie McFall for securing the wonderful raffle baskets. Also, thank you to the very generous Saborowski family and the Eleanor Room. Last but not least, kudos to librarian Emily Wauer, who created the one-of-a-kind mystery event. Some people thought that she perhaps purchased the event or found it somewhere else, but she came up with that whole entire idea herself. And thank you to Library Director Brian Van Klooster for his leadership and support in making the event the talk of the village. That's all I have for that.
Wow. Trustee Olet, question?
Do you know how much it netted?
Over $5,000.
Oh, great. And when you said that it went down 4,000, then it went up 4,000, is that because the Friends of the Library, they donated that 4,000 for that line item? Was that for the Explorer Pass?
So we're talking about I was talking about the 2026 budget, which we have to approve. And you'll notice for the library expenditures that the expenditures for programming will go down by $4,000 because the Friends has agreed to contribute more toward programming. So the revenue line on top where it says donations will go up $4,000.
So we won't get out anything then?
Well, I'm just talking about part of the library board budget, just to give you a little insight as to what we're going to be talking about on November 4th.
Okay.
Yeah, but state aid went down, and then previously I talked about in order to work things out next year, the library also cut the digital subscription to Hoopla, which gives patrons the ability to watch movies, listen to music. We dropped that in order to balance the budget. So, but the Friends is really stepping up. Usually they contribute more like materials and things that you see, but now they're going to contribute more to programming to continue the programming that everyone loves.
How many people do you think that affected by not having that Hoopla?
The Hoopla, I'm not sure, Brian, do you know how many people subscribe to Hoopla?
We have about 300 checkouts of Hoopla a month.
Oh, wow, that's a lot.
I mean, I don't know the customer number, but you can compare that to about 2,500 checkouts in Mubi, which is the other e-content platform.
Oh, okay.
But there's a lot of variables there too. We have to throttle or limit the number of checkouts people can borrow from Hoopla because we pay every single time somebody checks something out, which makes the resource really wonderful, but also really expensive.
Like, how much would that be a month, would you say?
This year we paid $8,600 for it, which is.
Oh, wow.
Do you want me to start over from
Yeah.
the beginning? About $8,600 a year, which is a huge amount of money for a library database.
Okay.
And other libraries in McFliss system have also made the decision to drop Hoopla,
Oh.
unfortunately. Because state aid, has gone down and, other reasons, so.
Interesting.
But there's still options.
Yeah, people won't lose access to electronic materials. It's just that the things that are offered through Hoopla there'll be a longer waiting list, basically.
Sure. Thanks. Makes sense.
I have a question. Since this event was such a success, Elaine, is the library considering making it a continual one year to year?
There was some discussion at the Friends of the Library meeting about doing it. It could be something they do every other year instead of every year. It does require staff time and volunteer time, but and then coming up with a new mystery or a new event. You have to do that. So there is discussion and a lot of enthusiasm on the Friends board about continuing something. Like I said, maybe not in 2026, but maybe in 2027. There was even discussion about maybe doing a trivia night or something.
Nice.
So, but it worked out really well, but there definitely is some staff time involved. Not just library, not just Friends volunteer time, but staff time.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
It was a wonderful event.
Yeah, it
It
was
was,
fun.
if you weren't there, I mean, it was,
Yeah.
it was fun, so,
Food was fabulous.
yeah.
The Eleanor Room.
Mhm.
I have a health department update. Anyone else have updates also?
We do have.
Public Celebrations Committee.
Public celebrations, why don't you go first?
So Halloween's is not part of public celebrations, but Halloween's is going on right now. It started today, the 21st, till the 26th. You might have seen it in Gazebo Park. They really stepped it up this year. It really looks nice. Scott Fisher from Gift of Wings and his staff spent a ton of time doing that, obviously a ton of money, because they have a lot of new decorations this year. Kids get to carve pumpkins, and I don't know what they all do. They don't have kids, so I don't get, but I guess it's a lot of fun. And then Sunday, October 26th, is our trick-or-treating, and we have our unique Halloween parade. I've not heard another community that does that. So they line up on Broad Street and Southway at 2 o'clock. Parade starts at 2:30. They march up the block, and then they get a candy bar provided by Gift of Wings. And then 3:15, they have a costume contest, which even if you don't have kids, that's really fun to see the costumes and the kids. And then at 4 o'clock starts trick or treat on Sunday. We talked about the sensory Halloween that Rachel did at the safety center. I think she had 65 kids. That went really well. It was fully funded. She was happy about that. She actually has extra candy she's going to donate. And then upcoming holiday lights on November 28th, the day after Thanksgiving, when all the lights come on for Greendale. And then Dickens is on December 5th, the Friday after that.
A lot on the agenda.
A lot of people were just asking how long was trick or treat? It's 4 till 7.
Yeah, 4 to 7.
Any questions for this update? That was really thorough, thank you. Trustee McFall.
I just, no questions. People have been on Facebook already asking
Yeah.
what time and everything, so.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that are responding to it, saying that, check Facebook, check this, check.
Yeah.
So the word is out. But there is one thing I would like to say, and I don't know if I'm going to take it away from Mike, but I'd like to congratulate, and I think Greendale should be so proud of our Greendale Marching Band.
Yes.
That won state for the 20th year in a row.
Yes.
So kudos, unbelievable. As you all know, I live over in the D section. In the start of the season, the band is out there and we can hear it, and it's like, sometimes you're like, ooh, you're gonna need a lot of work. And it gets better and better and better.
In a short period of time.
In a short period of time, and I will tell you this, those kids worked their rear ends off, and they did a wonderful job, and again, 20 years in a row, so.
It was an amazing performance.
Yep, congrats to
Yep.
the Greendale Marching Band. And everybody, and to the parents.
That's a good accolade, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. You said you didn't have anything, right? There's a couple of things on the health department I'd like to update. Number one, obviously, continue to stay in touch with all the stuff that the health department does on a regular basis. They're very involved in all aspects of the community, and they welcome people to stop in and see what's going on and what they can do. A couple of updates I did want to share, though, for the people and for the large audience that's watching us. Starting in November, the health department hours will be from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. This change is due to the anticipating staffing changes that are happening. There's a shortage this year of staff from the prior year because of grants that didn't come through. An audit on when residents were coming into the health department and the other department commitments and activities outside of normal business hours, seeing that these hours won't really impact the people that flow in to see or need to talk to somebody. So this will still be very seamless, and they're still available during these times. Another thing, the anticipated changes in 2026, it was not going to be feasible to continue the Memory Cafe, which is very popular and does a phenomenal job. I've attended a couple of them. Yeah, I know. But with a donation, this is the good part, from ARP, the health department will be able to fund a cafe leader and the supplies for 9 memory cafes in 2026, so the village can continue to support the dementia-friendly designation. This is a really great program. It was in danger, and thanks to ARP and thanks to the finding creativity from Ashley and the whole health department, it is able to continue. People need to take a look. I mean, almost every family has somebody that, is close or secondary level, an aunt or an uncle, that might benefit from this program. And please, if you want the dates and how to sign up, just walk in the health department or give them a call. That's kind of a brief one for today. I know some of you are disappointed, but I'm going to keep it at that. Question?
I don't have a question, but I have a children's garden update when you're ready.
Children's garden, I'd love to hear right now.
Okay. The Children's Garden Committee met on October 13th. The committee donated a gift basket to Sunday's fun run. There was discussion about new garden signage with tips on winterizing your garden, so they're going to have tips on those larger boards out there, and then smaller take-home pamphlets in the little box. The committee will be hosting children's crafts during tree lighting at the field workshop on November 28th. Also, possible dates for next year's Clean and Green event were discussed. That's all I have.
Questions for the children's garden update? Thank you for that. Shows that they're always doing something productive. That ends the committee reports for tonight. Under old business, board and committee appointments and resignations. I'm going to pass on that one. So I don't have any. Under new business, first item, BOT 25-104, presentation of the Southridge Master Plan. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, over the last several months, we've been working with village staff, the steering committee, local residents, as well as stakeholders on the Southridge Mall Master Plan, and tonight we'd like to give the board an update. So to keep us organized, we're going to quickly talk about the scope and intent of the master plan. We're going to talk about our community engagement recap, the process we went through. We're going to talk about the three possible futures or the master planning framework, and we'll talk a little bit about the branding, wayfinding, and signage, and then we'll ask for some general comments and confirmation if we're on the right direction on the master plan, and talk about some next steps that we need to complete to finish off the master plan. So why are we creating the master plan? The master plan is really the overlap of three important groups. Our expertise and understanding of the market demand that could support great development. The municipality, yourselves, and the general public, what your requirements or what you'd like to see out of a successful master plan. And then, of course, the landowners and key stakeholders. Where those intersect is an ideal master plan. Those master plans, the master plan can take many different forms, but for us, we're thinking about different scenarios. So it's not a one option idea. It's a series of what ifs. So we're designing a flexible framework that can allow many different scenarios to occur, and we're going to present three of those tonight. So let's start off with our community engagement process. So we did have a stakeholder engagement, 3 sessions with stakeholders and landowners. We had a community open house event, and then we continue to host the website, southridgevision.com. Is it .com or .org? .com. And that continues to stay open, and we're continuing to collect input from the community. That's another resource. So as a summary of our stakeholder engagement, this occurred over 3 sessions. We had very good feedback from all 3 sessions. And I'd like to highlight the major takeaway, which is we worked with stakeholders on creating planning principles that guide the master plan framework. And you can see those 7 principles listed on the right-hand side of this slide. And we prioritized those principles. And what we heard loud and clear from stakeholders and owners was the most important planning principle should be to create destinational experiences and focus the master plan around entertainment. The second one being forging a bold new identity for this development. And then the third being stay and play hospitality. So those were the 3 primary planning principles that came out of those sessions. Now, all of this data is available on that website I mentioned earlier, so you can see all of the data collected. I won't go into much more detail than just highlighting the major planning principles that have guided our plan. We did the same with the community. So residents it was a great turnout. There was over 100 people in the room. You can see an image on the lower right-hand corner of that event. And we had some very engaging exercises that we went through, visioning work. And again, all of this information is on the website, available, and please reach out and ask any questions about anything. But I won't go into much detail, except, again, we looked at those same planning principles, and we asked the residents to prioritize those planning principles, because these are really our guiding, there's our kind of north arrow for the master plan. And the communities, their number one planning principle is reimagining commercial retail. The second planning principle being connectivity and walkability, and the third being destinational experiences and entertainment. So with those 6 planning principles from the stakeholders and the community, we use those to really guide the direction of our master plan. Also, another activity that we did in the open house was we took the top 4 planning principles and we broke into smaller breakout groups, and we wanted to get into a little bit more detail. What do you see behind destinational programming, for example? And I'll talk very quickly about a takeaway from each of those focus groups. Forging a bold new identity. That group really felt strongly that the Southridge plan, master plan, should be an extension of Greendale. It shouldn't be an isolated master plan. It should feel like it's whole part of or an extension of Greendale. Destinational programming, there was a lot of support around the idea of a multi-purpose sports venue and sports and rec generally on the campus. The third group talked about engaging public spaces and really talked a lot about the oasis experience that is Greendale, and how can we take some of that feeling to the Southridge master plan. And then finally, trails, biking, and connectivity, strengthening the connection to the character of Greendale was a strong takeaway from that group. So this is the information that we really use to guide the plan that we'll show shortly. And then just wanted to again mention that southridgevision.com is still collecting information, and I believe Mike Hawes is going to present on a village-wide survey that ran parallel to our master plan, that also had some Southridge questions that were also folding into our thinking. So let's get into the plan itself. First, of course, want to recognize the primary stakeholders and landowners that are part of imagining and thinking about the future for the campus. And of course, any of these concepts will need to be vetted, and need to be a partnership formed with these landowners for any of these scenarios moving forward. So what are the opportunities for the Southridge study area? And you can see over time, this is a kind of parking demand, the evolution of parking demand over time. You can see that the amount of parking has been shrinking over time. And that's not just Southridge, that's really malls across the country. And we're seeing, some retail trends that are leading toward this constriction. Yes, Boston Store is now, vacated the mall. That's part of the reduction. But even without that, there are a few errands and trips, more digital orders and curbside pickups. We're all shopping on Amazon. That's part of the constriction. As well as, malls are being used differently. We saw some of this in the data we collected with the community, that there's fewer trips, but when residents do take trips to malls, they're sort of more purpose-driven. They partner it with maybe a dining experience or some longer destinational experiences. And we're seeing that across the country. And then finally, more of a sort of a spread out mix of amenities will start to flatten out the peak demand parking times, which that's what drives the really large parking demand is the, the rush for Black Friday or parking for Christmas shopping. So maybe a wider flattening of amenities can start to reduce that peak demand. So just looking at the overall parking that exists at Southridge today, we're looking at 4,179 approximate stalls at Southridge today. Is that the right number? And, we continue to ask ourselves that question as we look at all of the three scenarios that I'll present next. But just knowing when we start to carve out parcels or development opportunities, each one of those will have their own parking solution, and we'll need to really look at the overall parking for the whole development as well. So this is an ongoing conversation. Just wanted to recognize the amount of parking that's there today and kind of a question mark on is that the right amount of parking? So the three scenarios, we're going to present a flexible framework, and we're going to run it through these three kind of what-if scenarios. The first scenario is the mall remains, or the mall building remains as part of the development. A second scenario looks at what if the shared space, that the atrium inside the mall and the smaller retailers, what if that is redeveloped over time and the anchor tenants stay? And then a third scenario that looks at most of the mall and most of the anchors are all part of a redevelopment. So scenario one, we started by looking at the overall Greendale or Southridge Loop Road, and what adjustments could be done, simple adjustments could be done to that loop road that start to unlock a lot more development potential and really look at higher and better use than parking zones. So those dotted lines are simple moving of road infrastructure that starts to unlock double-sided development zones. So both sides of the road can be developed by developers. And as we started to look at 10,000 feet, there's some really obvious characteristics about each of these zones that are going to start to feed into a land use idea. So the zone to the north of the existing mall lends itself to commercial retail. It's like an extension of the 76th Street commercial corridor. The zone to the east and south, it has a much more residential neighborhood feel and can transition to the surrounding neighborhoods to the east. And the zone of the study area to the south and west, could start to we could start to consider some of those sports and wellness activities that we heard from the community and from stakeholders, as well as stay and play hospitality could straddle the sports and wellness and multifamily zone. So from there, we looked a little bit deeper at the loop road and the quality and kinds of streets that the flexible framework could establish. So commercial streets, residential streets, to accommodate those three different zones I just talked about. And from there, you start to see potential parcel opportunities. Now, as I mentioned earlier, each one of these parcels will have to have its own parking scenario, parking study done to make sure that they're self-parked and they're also, allowing for enough parking to continue to support the retail in the existing Southridge Mall. But you can start to see the residential zones shown in that gold color, the pink, that salmon color, L1 to the north, is more of an extension of the retail, inline retail zone, and L2 is another opportunity for stay and play hospitality potentially, that's adjacent to some of the residential development zones. Another scenario, it's kind of a 1B, is what if that the residential zone to the south and east supported more of that sports and recreation use. So I think there's an overlap on that south end of campus where we could, as part of the plan, permit a wider range of uses depending on developer interest. That's for L2 and L6. So that's scenario one. So that's what if the mall remains intact? What development opportunities are there around the perimeter of the mall? Scenario two begins to look at what if the shared portion of the mall were to be redeveloped? What opportunities would arrive? And this is where we bring an idea of a Market Street and a loop access road. And what this does is this provides very direct access to each one of the front doors of the retailers. So you normally, now you're having a much more sort of connected experience to the front doors of the retail opportunities. And then that Market Street and Market Loop could also connect to an active lifestyle plaza. And this is where we start to really bring in the idea of sports and recreation as a driver for development. So you start to see L9, L8, L10, and 11 are sports and recreation focused retail opportunities around the Market Street and Plaza as a central idea behind the plan. So let's zoom in a little bit closer and have a look at the qualities of that active lifestyle plaza. So I mentioned a Market Street. So the Market Street would be sort of highlighted by gateways. We'll talk about the signage and branding and wayfinding. So there's a visual connection to the entries. And then once you arrive at those entry points, a Market Street, so a much more sort of pedestrian-friendly street would connect to the plaza. And that plaza would look to attract, things like a multi-purpose sports venue. It could be sports and rec fitness user. It could be more of a destinational sports retailer, as well as the restaurants and some of the vibrant uses that we heard from the community and from stakeholders. But the plaza itself is designed in a way, we've started to kind of test some ideas that look at that active lifestyle plaza. What if it could be a multi-seasonal, could have ice in the winter, it could host some sports events even within the plaza itself to really build that programming that could really drive the vibrancy of that destination. And we recognize that Barrett Lowe also has an outdoor plaza space as part of their development, but we think there's a really strong synergy between a plaza that is kind of an active lifestyle plaza, think of a hardscaped plaza, and the Barrett Lowe development having more of a green space. We think that those two could be well connected and have a different function and really provide that a nice vibrant mix to the campus. Another thing that it does is obviously by drawing the vibrancy and the footsteps into the plaza for different programming, each one of the entry points for the new arrival, all of those entry points will focus in on the plaza. So it's kind of, it's this sort of back and forth where a well-programmed plaza will drive vibrancy for the businesses, and the businesses will bring vibrancy for the plaza. So you could think about many examples around, even locally, Drexel Town Square or Brookfield, the corners of Brookfield, for example, where they utilize that same device. It's a public space that has really vibrant retail and activated entry points looking into it. That doesn't leave the rest of the mall behind. So if you look at the entry points called out, shown in red, those are all new opportunities for retailers to have front doors that look out towards 76th Street and continue to build on that great sort of inline retail feel along the west side of the mall. So what are the potential users or developers, operators that would come into a configuration like this? And we've brainstormed a few. You can see a few examples on the screen. Restaurants, boutique retail, on those smaller 5,000 to 7,000 square foot opportunities. And then the larger 90,000 and 60,000 square foot opportunities could be everything from that, flexible multi-sport youth complex. It could be, more of a community center, recreation center, YMCA type development. JCPenney could continue to operate and be part of the experience or redevelop over time as their own version of an indoor sports venue, for example. So this is about, creating a destinational plaza that can really drive a vibrant, new mix of uses. We've taken it a step forward to kind of give you a glimpse at the next phase. We're going to create a bigger vision around these scenarios. This is a view of that plaza looking down. You can see the JCPenney entrance there highlighted. And this shows all of those front entries for all that sports-focused retail, all looking in on this great vibrant plaza, and you can see the Market Street on the left-hand side of the image. We did one other quick sketch that shows the scenario where there is a sports event, a programmed sports event happening in the plaza, and the kind of vibrancy that could bring to this new destinational plaza. Finally, scenario 3 this is the scenario that looks at even some of the anchor tenants could redevelop over time. And one of the things that we heard loud and clear from residents was they want a much more direct connection to downtown Greendale. So how could we provide an even more direct connection to that vibrant plaza experience that we just looked at? And if you imagine where Macy's is today, that could allow for a direct road connection and unlock L13 and L14 as development parcels. You can imagine them as, mixed use residential above with some activated ground floor retail and this vibrant street experience, a cafe spilling out on the street. It would be almost an extension or a feel of downtown Greendale, but then it would connect all the way through to that active lifestyle loop that connects to the destinational plaza. Okay, so that's kind of the 3 scenarios that we studied, and this is an overlay of all 3 scenarios together, just to kind of show you how this flexible framework can allow for a range of different development opportunities to come to the development. And part of the reason for highlighting this slide is just to take it all the way back to those conversations with stakeholders and the conversations with the community, and especially the leading planning principles. So destinational experiences and entertainment, this plan or this framework starts to create the plaza that can allow for that destinational experience and that great placemaking to occur. Forge a bold new identity. We're going to talk about the branding aspect in a second. We're going to get into that. Stay and play hospitality is also, if you're successful in creating a great destinational experience and building those strong destinational developments, hospitality, will come hand in hand. So that could be anything from L8, L14, 13, L7 I could see, a hotel, conference center being very viable for those properties. And then finally, connectivity and walkability. So this is all talking about the possibilities from a developer's perspective, and from a land use perspective. but it's also equally important to knit this back into the surrounding communities and into Greendale. So you can start to see an overlay, and this is one of our next steps, is to really define those green spaces and landscape improvements so that we're not faced with a huge parking lot and a building in the center. It's a walkable community with these green connections and a really strong pedestrian infrastructure. And that's one of the next layers that we'll get into here. The other aspect that came out was forging a bold new identity. So the way that this overlay of connectivity and community connections lays on the master plan, I'd like to invite Sarah up to talk about how forging a bold new identity is another layer of the master plan.
Yeah, hi everybody. The goal of what we're trying to do on the brand side of this project is to really create a strong community-focused storyline that is not only supporting the master plan, but also feels like part of the rest of the village. So along the way, we've been exploring different brand directions, which you can see on the top left there. We've been testing out concepts and talking to the community, and then using our research to create a brand that really connects this development to the rest of the community. We're also making sure that the brand is carried through to the physical environment. And so like Eric talked about, we're going to be going through signage and wayfinding a little later. So to accomplish all of this, we've created a comprehensive process that really makes sure that we're asking the right questions, we're getting enough feedback, we are testing concepts which ultimately help us develop a storyline that has multiple layers and tangible results. Right now we are in this concept and ideation phase, and I'm going to present how we explored that and have arrived at our current concepts. And we really, the point of this is to make sure that we're on the right track here. So we've explored various themes along the way, and we presented two directions to the community through the community engagement session. Like Eric mentioned, we conducted surveys, we talked to the community, we held the group breakout sessions, and actually the Forge a Bold New Identity breakout session had the most people in it. So it was really exciting to hear people's stories and hear their ideas for what this could be. All of that kind of got us to one big idea. Nobody wanted to carry the Southridge name forward. So with Southridge off the table, how do we start to create a brand that you're proud to have in your village and that embodies the future of this development? So we took that direct feedback that we heard from the community engagement sessions, and we began to run down concepts that support the theme of connection, celebrating place, and this future forward notion. So after multiple name explorations, again, incorporating that feedback from the community and building on the research and the heritage of Greendale, we are really excited to introduce the Green Loop. So I'll walk us through kind of the layers of story that we've built here. I do want to mention that we are working on picking up some comments on this logo from the steering committee and making final tweaks. So this is just an in-progress look at the logo. And looking at this, we're referencing Loop, specifically honoring Greendale streets that were designed early on to protect trees, to create green space opportunities and provide safety to the community. As Eric mentioned before, the concept is also carried through the physical design of the development, so we're making sure that that's layered into the name as well. We know Greendale's designation as a garden community is something you're all very proud of, and so as a nod to that, we felt that green should be in the name. We're also recognizing that we've got two communities that we're representing here in this master plan, Greendale and Greenfield. And then we also want to make sure that we are proposing something that is punchy and destinational feeling. So meet me at the Green Loop or meet me at the Loop. Who knows, in the future maybe the green will drop off, but right now we're capturing the spirit of the green communities. And then aesthetically, we're also adding a visual representation of the loop. Along with that, we've got an organic styling to loop and then a non-organic styling to green, kind of marrying the contemporary and organic aesthetic. Again, what you're seeing here is a first iteration, and we're actively picking up comments to kind of provide that final tweak. As we do that, we're always making sure that we're testing this to see what it will look like along the way and how it will appear in the built environment. So you can see some examples of that on the right-hand side. There are going to be many opportunities to extend this brand into the physical environment. And we're, as we kind of develop those concepts, we'll kind of dive deeper into that in the next village board meeting. So as we start to explore some more common ways to incorporate brand when we're talking about a mixed-use development, the biggest one is signage and wayfinding. It's often people's first touch point and visual connection to the brand, so we want to make sure that it's not only representative of the brand, but also functional in getting them to where they're going. So these are just initial examples. We're going to take a more granular look at this with the steering committee in the next couple of weeks, but these are what we can predict for now may be needed. So I'll start with gateway signs. This is your primary entrance sign. These are over the roadway signs, which you can see on the bottom left, or maybe more vertical markers on the top left as well. And then these are essentially just highlighting that you've arrived to a destination. We've got secondary signs. Similar, they're a little smaller in scale and potentially placed in locations that visitors may turn into because they've been here before, but we don't want to miss out on opportunities to carry the brand forward and engage visitors as they dive into the site. Once visitors arrive, we want to make sure that they know where they're going. So the wayfinding and directional signage becomes a functional representation of the brand. These are signs that could potentially include owner and stakeholder names and begin to introduce their brands as well. And then finally, at the heart of this development, we are reiterating an arrival at a destination with potential interactive signs, monuments, branded Market Street signs, really continuing to carry that brand forward. Again, these are just a high level of what we may need. We're going to continue refining detailed concepts on these, and we'll look at that next time as we continue to move that forward. So with direct feedback from the community and direction from the steering committee, we begin to create this framework for the brand that ties into the development and really creates a place that feels like a true extension of Greendale. So I'll kick it back to Eric to talk about next steps, but we're really looking for your feedback and make sure we're on the right track.
Great. So next steps. Today, we'd like to hear from you if we're on the right track, if the plan is going in the right direction, and take any feedback that you may have. And then the next steps is, we're going to finalize this planning document. We're going to create rendered site plans. We showed you 2 example visuals. We're going to create some more visualizations, renderings, animations to really support that vision and build that vision out. So you can really inspire a great development. And then once we get through finalizing the master plan, then we'll get into developing the design guidelines. And these will be established to help you have the mechanism to make sure that the quality level and the kind of development is consistent with your expectations. So that's everything from, we've been talking about uses. So what are the permitted uses? What types of building materials, the roadway sections and materials, the landscaping standards, pedestrian infrastructure standards, those kinds of conversations we'll have with Greendale staff, and we'll establish a strong document that you can actually use to permit development that aligns with the master plan. So with that, love to hear your feedback and anything.
Eric, can you mention so we get feedback, later on in our survey, people, multifamily housing is less popular than other types of housing. So I forget which L's it was, but in that southeast area with the vision of residential, can you talk about the type of residential that will be envisioned for that area?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that there is, we should hear from developers on what we think from a market standpoint makes sense, from a development standpoint makes sense, to make sure that the right kind of development, can even occur in that area around the mall. I think it lends itself to, a certain kind of development. But we can, I think we can use the permitted uses as a way to control. We can dive a little bit deeper into the kind of development that the community wants to see happen, and then see if that's viable, and maybe we can find an overlap there.
I bring it up because we had discussed in some of the steering committees about potentially being more of garden style housing or row housing, or whatever you call it, but a mix of housing versus all the same type of thing, especially as it transitions to that nearby single family neighborhood type of thing.
Definitely.
I'll ask for questions one second. Excellent presentation. I want to thank you for that. Also, I wanted to mention that for those people who want to see this presentation, it is going to be on our village website at some point.
Yeah, will you guys be putting this on
Put that right up. Yep, it'll also be on southridgevision.com.
southridgevision.com on the village. Because I think a lot of people, as this word gets around in the village, is going to want to take a peek at this. So I just want to make sure they knew that. Now I'd like to take questions from the trustees. Trustee Unger, you had your hand up first.
I was jotting down some things as you were talking, so I'll just start at the top of my list here. So when you talked about the stakeholders, what is the stakeholders, who are they, and what is the difference between stakeholders and steering committee? I am not clear on that.
Yeah, the stakeholder group, and Mike has the complete list of everyone that was invited to the stakeholder sessions. They're primarily the landowners.
Okay.
But there's also the inclusion of
School district.
The school district as well.
So the superintendent. So school district superintendent and the landowners.
At Southridge campus.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. So there was some 20 to 25 different landowners that reached out to you. If we had emails, if we didn't have emails, we sent letters. It ended up being about maybe 6 or 7 that were engaged in that process, and the rest were not, but.
Okay. And steering committee, is that different?
That was, so that was more of an internal, so myself, DPW Director, Damask, Paul, our Director of Inspection Services, so to kind of have more of the infrastructure, building zoning type of perspectives. Ashley sat in on one of the meetings as well, and then Trustee Sell and President Zabrowski
Okay,
as the Plan Commission, representatives.
got it. Okay, that makes sense. So the next thing I wrote down was, and I'm sure you're going to do it, but the next thing on our agenda is the results of the community survey. And I think you'd be interested in reviewing that. One of the things that came out of that survey is our residents, and it kind of surprised me, but they are not supportive of a hotel or a boutique hotel in that area. Now, that's as of 2025. I don't know how that'll change in the coming years, but that's something that was on the survey. So I'm sure you'll take a look at all of that.
Definitely.
What happened to the Emerald Yard name?
I can speak to that. So there is another project by Barrett Lowe as well called Emerald Row in Oak Creek. And so we kind of just thought that that might be a little too close of a tie to that. But we did kind of explore some other, because I know the community really liked the elevated nature of Emerald. And so we kind of explored some other options, but nothing really hit as good as what we've concepted.
Okay, because I liked Emerald Yard.
I did.
I know.
Okay. Let's see. So you talked a lot about stay and play hospitality. Stay meaning hotel. Is that what you mean? Or apartments? What does that mean?
Yeah, that was, in some of the conversations with stakeholders, if you create a great destinational, sports and rec related use, then all of the families that are coming for, sports events, it's just a great sort of, symbiotic nature to have a hotel and
Okay.
even connected directly to the facility.
Mhm.
So that, I think that's where the idea of, you go to a sporting event, if it's a youth sporting event, for example, you go there and then you participate in all of the other amenities that are part of the development. So that's the stay and play aspect.
Okay, and I think, as you know, the Rock Sports Complex, Ballpark Commons is right up the street, so this would have to differentiate itself from all of that.
Definitely. Yeah.
And,
There was many conversations
yeah.
about how it would differentiate.
Okay. And.
A lot of court sports rather than,
Sure.
the offerings that they have there.
Okay. And the green loop, when I looked at that initially, reminded me of a racetrack.
Yeah, so those are some of the comments that we are picking up from the steering committee, as well as kind of refining that logo, making sure it doesn't have connotations to anything else, or similar to what you're saying, making sure that we're vetting it and testing it in all these different ways.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had, thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thanks for the comments.
Other questions from the trustees, please? Trustee Olet?
Personally, it reminds me of Chicago, the Loop. I don't like that at all, personally. And also wondering, with the sports activities and things that's in the plan, are you thinking like the Greendale School District would have this as sports activity? Or I'm not sure what you're envisioning in that. I mean, who would do that? Who would run it?
Yeah, I think that's part of the, you create the vision, and then you see which developers would be interested in, coming with their own operator to operate that kind of a development. School district was, definitely interested in some of the conversations. How they would partner together with a developer and an operator, that's yet to be seen, but.
Like, would that be a thing? Like where would they have something like that? I can't envision, like, where that is somewhere. That
Yeah, we can
developer would-
share a bunch of examples. We'll do that. We'll bring some examples forward. Some all privately owned, some partnerships, and there are some publicly owned as well.
Very
So
nice.
there are different models.
I have a couple of comments, and I didn't see any other. Matt, did you have any?
No, you're enough for me.
Couple of things that I wanted to say. I did like, I like the designing of the ring road to create more opportunities for us to expand. I thought that was creative, because really the Southridge area and 76th Street corridor is our commercial revenue stream for the village. So as much as we can develop into there, it is vital that we do that. So I really like that idea. I did like, too, the way you presented 3 different options of if the mall goes away, if some stores stay, and give different avenues, because that's what, no one knows where it's going to go, but it's going to go in one of those 3 directions. We all know that. In regards to some of the things that you mentioned, I think they're very creative. I think we also need to be aware that what we place in there, since that is our main revenue stream to keep our taxes low, it has to be viable to bring tax revenue into the village. So if you have like just a little outdoor area and you want to have kids play on it or something like that, unless you're going to charge a couple $100 an hour per kid, it's not going to help our revenue stream. So just keep that in mind. I do like the concept, but we derive most of our tax base to keep our taxes low from that area along there, so.
Yeah, and I think that's where the other conversation, about the amount of multifamily that's part of the development, that's another important consideration, because that brings the tax revenue that can support, some of these amenities that we talked about, like the plaza. So, if there's maybe less multifamily, then maybe the plaza is less viable. So those conversations need to be need to be had, but we wanted to lay out some wide-ranging scenarios.
Yeah, no, I appreciate
right?
that.
So that, we're not all eggs in one basket here. We're trying to look at a range of different ideas.
I appreciate you doing that.
Great.
Any last comments, questions? You want to add, Mike?
I would just say, yeah, to your point, that's very important because I think the Boston Store property was a unique situation where the village took a hands-on approach, and that's likely not going to be the situation for these other properties. These are private property decisions, marketplace decisions, and so this at least provides the framework that we want those types of uses and decisions to fall within, as well as the design guidelines. But I think having that flexibility to kind of be able to roll with what the future owner of the mall is going to have in mind, or future owners of other properties, that a lot of that stuff won't be directly in our hands, but at least we have now, kind of a playbook that it will need to kind of follow along with.
I thank you for your presentation. It was very well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks for all the great feedback.
Are we, so we have any back then next month? Is that the plan then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if we have that date marked in yet, but yeah, it's about a month from now. We'll have, the vision fleshed out and the master plan document complete, and we'll, have a start of the design guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Moving on to the next item, BOT 25105.
No.
Discussion and necessary action regarding review of the 2025 community survey results. The survey was just completed on Friday. Mike and his staff have been able to put it all together in a handful of days, so I commend them for
good.
that. So,
Yeah,
pass it over to you.
Yep, so I was really wanting to kind of get the results in front of us before, or especially as we're getting further into the budget process to get it at this board meeting. So this is the results report of the 2025 community survey. The village board approved the survey questions back in August. A lot of the questions were the same as the 2022 survey, kind of by design, so we could compare results with also some new questions relating to financial strategies, infrastructure, park amenities, events, recycling center. Survey was promoted through a variety of different communication tools that we have. It was available primarily online with hard copies available at the Village Hall and Library. We asked for one response per household, and the survey was open between September 16th and October 17th. So happy to report that the participation was a little bit higher than the previous survey. So we had 954 responses, which was an increase of about 19% compared to the 2022 survey. As you can see on the bar charts on the right, we had, so in 2022, we actually mailed hard copies along with the Village Views newsletter. So it was an insert in the newsletter, and so as you would expect, there were a lot more hard copy responses that were submitted. So nearly half, or I think it was some in the 40% that were hard copy submitted. This time, and so that was very labor intensive from a staff perspective because there were so many open-ended questions. It took multiple staff members, multiple days to enter the survey in between other work. So this time we focused on the electronic survey with the QR code in the newsletter, and then the hard copies were available, which some did take advantage of, 35 submitted hard copy. So as far as the statistical significance, the results this time were more statistically significant. We accounted for nearly 16% of the village households, which is a margin of error of 2.9% at a 95% confidence level, which just equates to a little bit more representative of the population than our 2022 survey. But both surveys, considering the size of the community, a statistician would say are strong results for a survey of this magnitude. So we'll just jump into some of the demographics real quick to kind of give you some context. So as far as the age of the head of households that responded, as you might expect with the more of the reliance on the electronic survey submission, we had a less response rate from 65 and over. However, it's interesting, I was like, well, what does the census say? How many households have 65 and over as far as the age of head of household? And actually The census says that it's actually more around 33% or so. So this time we actually ended up with a more representative demographic as far as age groups, at least as far as that older demographic. So we had, like I said, about 31% 65 and over, and then a little bit more on some of the middle ages of the groups. In terms of the years of residence, so we had a little bit less as far as the more than 25 years of residence. So the years of residence were kind of more in those middle ranges. As far as the children in households, more children reported in the respondents than the last survey. Recent movers, so this asked if you moved in the last 10 years, where did you move from? So 31% from city of Milwaukee, 38% from somewhere else in Milwaukee County, and then some others from different parts of the southeast Wisconsin area. As far as residence type, again, a lot more, a lot single family, 87% were single family dwellers, 91% own versus rent. And then by street section, we had pretty similar disbursement of people by street section. The G section, a nice increase there. So a little bit more, I would say, in each of the different sections, we had a little bit more compared to the 2022 survey representing each of the sections.
Question. Which section do they fall in along Edgerton that isn't part of, where did you lump those in?
So there was a lot of other, and I didn't show a bar that, so in the results themselves, there's a lot of other streets and other. This were just kind of the main sections that people reported.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll jump into the survey questions or the results themselves. So first question was, how important are the following features in your choice to live in Greendale? And I know this is a lot of information. This report will be available on the village website. But the options for each of these features were not important, somewhat, or very important. And so the way we summarized them or displayed them is that we put a number weight on each of those options. So 1, 2, and 3 being very important. And then so we arrive at a weighted average for the responses. So this table and the tables that will follow in the next slides are shown in the order of the highest weighted average down to the lowest. So the most important features were crime and safety, quality of neighborhoods, municipal services. The least important features of why they choose to live in Greendale were nearby employment and public transportation. Some of the notable differences from our last survey was that affordability increased quite a bit compared to the last survey, and then proximity to other cities and highways decreased in most importance. And feel free to jump in on questions or comments or any of these slides. The next question was, please rate the current condition of each of the following in Greendale. And so the top rated conditions, public crime and safety, rated as the highest level of satisfaction, parks, paths, and green spaces, noise and nuisance issues. As far as some of the lowest rated conditions in Greendale, people were least satisfied with road conditions, drainage, storm sewer, parking, and some of the notable differences from the 2022 survey, drainage, storm, as well as parks, paths, and green spaces decreased by the most since 2022. And so as I was talking to Director Damask earlier today, probably the recency of the August floods played into some of the drainage types of concerns, but we know that infrastructure and roads are always a concern as well.
Mike, what do you think they mean by green spaces? Like we don't keep up with the green space, or what does that mean?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I don't know offhand why. So this would be the condition of just their overall level of satisfaction with them. So I haven't quite pinpointed, what that may be relating to.
Because we don't have less green space.
Right. Yep.
Condition.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, current condition.
Yeah, current condition.
Mm-hmm.
Please rate how much you support each of the following activities. So as far as these types of initiatives, how supportive are you of the village taking on or organizations taking on these things in the community? And so infrastructure improvements rate as the top answer. Improvement of parks and public spaces, community events, and the downtown farmers market all were within that most supportive area. The least supportive initiatives were development, so new business, commercial development, and new multifamily residential development. Some of the differences, I just noted that there were very similar responses as the 2022 survey. The market and gazebo concerts were not on the 22 survey, so we had nothing to compare there, so these were new ones for this survey. This question was, how satisfied are you with the current status of the safety matters in Greendale? And so overall, a majority of the respondents were very satisfied with all the different safety matters listed. Respondents were least satisfied with pedestrian and crosswalk safety, but in terms of just being very satisfied, you don't get that a lot. And these were some really high marks as far as in the 80 and 90% being very satisfied with these different safety matters. How satisfied are you with the current status of the following general municipal services? This does not include DPW, which we handled DPW services in a separate question because there's just an exhaustive list of services under DPW. But for these non-DPW services, overall, a majority of residents or respondents were very satisfied with all municipal services except for code enforcement and tax assessments. Some of the differences from 2022 were slight increases in public health and in the village website, and some slight decreases for events, welcome center, and tax assessments. I think we had maybe 2 revaluations and assessments occur over that period, so yeah, I think pretty tired of tax assessments after that time. Municipal court had the greatest increase in satisfaction, so can't pinpoint why, but maybe more people went to court, had a good experience.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know what it is, but
I don't get that, it's strange.
but I will pass along the compliments to our court clerk Norma, who does a great job. These are the DPW services. So the highest rated DPW services, curbside garbage and recycling collection, as well as the recycling center. Lowest rated DPW services, street maintenance, as well as tree removal and replacement. The differences from the last survey, so a slight increase in the recycling center and in water sewer utilities. I think around the last time we did the survey, we had the village-wide water meter replacement program, so that could have led to a little bit of concern. And then the slight decrease in satisfaction for stormwater drainage as well as in the street maintenance. How often do members of your household use the following amenities? So the most often, parks and paths and walkways, local Greendale businesses, village events. Some of the least often used are soccer fields, tennis courts, and baseball fields. Some of the differences from the past survey, so a slight increase in the use in paths and walkways, in village events, playground equipment, picnic areas, tennis courts, and soccer fields, and slight decrease in use reported of library and welcome center. We asked some specific questions relating to Daffodil Park. We have a Daffodil Park Planning Committee that was wanting to do a survey of their own, and so we said, why don't we just do them at the same time? And so there was a list of amenities that that committee wanted feedback on. A majority of respondents were at least open or somewhat supportive to all of the amenities that were listed. However, the only amenity that had a majority of respondents that were very supportive was repair and maintain of existing pathways. So just kind of going through the results, there were a mix of people that said, we don't support public investment of any, great magnitude in any sort of new stuff in this park. But again, there was good response for repairing the existing stuff. The add sensory-friendly play features was pretty well supported, as well as a drinking fountain. The least supported amenities were public art installations, new walkways, and outdoor classroom space. Another question relating to the park, the committee wanted to know, we have a project planned to replace the existing playground, and the committee wanted to know, does the community want to see that playground still be kind of more directed towards age 8 and under, which it currently is, or expand it to a higher age group to age 12? And a majority, 57% of the respondents actually preferred that it would be a little bit broader age group up to 12 years old. The next question was, rate your level of support for adding or enhancing the following features in the Southridge area. So as Trustee Younger mentioned, when we were talking about the Southridge plan, that hotel, boutique hotel, was at the bottom of the list in terms of the amount of, the weighted average of the level of support for that use. And one thing I would note is that overall, I would say, so a majority of the respondents at least somewhat supported all the features listed. So none of the features listed or the uses listed had a majority that was not supportive of them. It just fell to the bottom in terms of the weighted average. So the most supported features were the restaurant offerings, retail, grocery, and green spaces. The least supported of this group were hotel, boutique hotel, multifamily residential, daycare. So again, I'm not saying that there's full support for hotel or any of these uses, but we also didn't include types of uses like, storage facilities or I don't know, pick other uses that would be less popular. But again, hotel, multifamily residential, daycare of these uses were the least supported of these. The differences from 2022, a slight increase in support for restaurants, grocery stores, mixed use, sports complex, and multifamily residential, slight decrease in support for medical, senior housing, offices, and hotel. Next question was, please indicate your level of support for each of these following general financial strategies. And so we listed some different financial strategies, pointing to some of our restraints as a built-out community as it relates to our tax levy keeping pace with inflation. And so these are some of the strategies that other municipalities are looking into. And so majority of the respondents were at least somewhat supportive of consolidation and increased user fees. A majority of respondents were not supportive of referendum, local wheel tax, and reductions in services. So again, I think consolidation and user fees were the most popular of those strategies. We also talked about our infrastructure plan. So we have a 10-year infrastructure and financing plan. We asked for feedback on, is this plan about right? Is it too rich? Is it not enough? And so a majority or most respondents, 65% felt the current investment plan is about right. 23% felt it was too much, too expensive, while 12% thought it wasn't enough. We also asked a similar question this time about events. We've kind of made some changes over the past couple of years on events. We have a policy, or actually an ordinance, where event organizers are responsible for reimbursing the village's services or costs associated with most events. And so the question was, the annual village expenses for events is approximately $65,000. How do you feel about this level of investment? And again, most respondents, 68%, felt that the current level is about right. 26% felt it was too much, while just 6% thought it was too little. We asked a couple questions about the refuse and recycling center. And so kind of knowing that we're going to have some decisions as far as our budgeting goes, we need to look at the fees again in order to make sure it breaks even, or at least keeps pace with our costs. And so how important are the recycling center dates and times, and how often should it be open? What do people think? And so we got some feedback on the most popular times, which, probably nothing too surprising, but Saturday morning, Saturday midday were the most popular. Saturday evenings was least preferred option, and of the weekday options, midday was preferred. And so we asked, how many days would you prefer to be open? I was interested to see if really the current number of days was really, really well supported. And sure enough, it was that 56% of the respondents prefer it being open 3 weekdays and a Saturday each week. And the next popular was 2 weekdays and Saturday. 9% prefer 1 weekday and Saturday, and only 1% prefer a schedule of Saturdays only. We asked, which of the following communication tools do you use to receive village information? The most popular are Village Views newsletter, Life in the Village magazine, and the village website. The least used communications, sorry to disappoint you, Ron, but YouTube account. There may not be thousands of people watching right now.
800 maybe?
Maybe. Village Hall, call-in or in person is also one of the least used communications. The difference is there's an increased usage in village website, village Facebook page, village hall updates, and village YouTube accounts. Or there was an increase, at least. since 2020.
That's what I was saying,
Decreased usage in the Life in the Village magazine and the village hall call or in person. So then we had a kind of a big open-ended question at the end. Please share any other comments or ideas that you have for the community. So in 2022, this was the results table. So these were more than all of the topics that had more than 2 mentions within them. And so the common themes, 2022 in this question, a lot of Southridge Mall, code enforcement, generally I love Greendale, infrastructure conditions, maintain enhanced green spaces, recycling center access, and taxes affordability were the common themes. In this year's survey, the common themes, again, and to put a positive, spin or twist on it, the love for Greendale, great place to live, was the most popular response, followed by, there's a lot of responses on affordability and taxes, infrastructure conditions, concerns. Southridge Mall and code enforcement were still common themes. So comparing both years on the open-ended responses, a greater emphasis, 2025, on taxes, affordability. I know that the idea or the concept of the wheel tax being in the survey led a lot of people to take the survey and probably had the mindset of concern with affordability and taxes. But those are all obviously very real issues, not unique to Greendale, that affordability is a big concern. Infrastructure, still a big area of concern. And like I said, Southridge and code enforcement are high areas of concern, but a little bit lesser than in 2022, at least as far as these open-ended questions.
Can you elaborate on school district-related concerns, 17?
Yeah, so I may not have, we may not have done that with the 2022, which is why it doesn't show up there, but there's a good number of responses in the open-ended section where people have concerns about school-related stuff.
Okay.
School administration, buildings, this or that, and so I just lumped them into school-related concerns that are not really within the scope of the village survey, but just acknowledge them here. And like I said, I feel like there were school-related concerns in a 2022 survey. We just didn't put them into a separate category. We didn't include them in that table for 2022. But there's, as you guys probably get a lot of questions relating to school or relating to things that are outside the scope of the village. Sometimes there's an assumption of, it's all interrelated, which it is to some extent, but obviously there's separate boards and separate things. So we do get some of that school-related feedback within the results.
Quick question. So better or improved code enforcement, they think that we're not strict enough, do you think? What was the comments?
I haven't, Paul had that same question for me today. He said, do you think that means people want more code enforcement? They want a different style of code enforcement? And I haven't had any sort of conclusions about that yet.
Like, what did the comments say? Or did they say these are comments, right?
Yeah, well, I'll share we'll post the results with all the different comments. So this kind of lumps together concerns about just neighboring properties, neighboring homes not being kept up, those types of things. And again, it was very prevalent in the 2022 survey. I think some of this is perception as well, right? I mean, there's a perception of something. It's kind of hard to change people's perceptions. We've put ton of money into our roads, into infrastructure, and we're going to continue over the next number of years. And, people might see just the roads that they travel every day until they get fixed, or there may just be just a deep perception of, infrastructure in Greendale and Wisconsin is just not up to what they would like to see. And so some of these things are just, there may always be some level of, as we talk about our code enforcement program, there's only certain things we can prioritize because you could spend, all day, every day prioritizing, garbage cans left out in front of the property or trailers or this or that. So, there's just going to be some level of concern over code enforcement, but can we, if not this time, future times show some level of improvement? But yeah, I just don't have the short answer on what are they getting at.
Well, I know the code enforcement, you can only look at quoting for what he can see. So it could be backyards that he can't,
But then they could report that,
they could, but people
you know,
don't.
I'm just wondering.
People don't.
Yeah, we know, and we know that in our, like, our update meeting that we had and some of the information that we have, that, like, there has been a lot of progress, particularly around some of the originals and stuff that have been updated. But again, whether that information gets to the general, population, do they know all the improvements? I was thinking about how do we highlight in a magazine, like, in the Village magazine, like, some of the improved properties, but then, is it kind of embarrassing to call out, like, look at this house, the way
Look at it now. Before and after.
Yeah.
So if someone has a good idea of how to, like, do that article, I mean, there is probably a way without having to, show too much of individual properties, but
For sure.
yeah, there probably is an opportunity to do just an overarching, just about the code enforcement program and
Right.
what it's done. This next slide is an overwhelming word cloud of the 2025 open-ended responses. So word cloud, just the bigger the word, the more popular it was used. So that's just for fun. And
Nice.
Greendale, of course, Greendale's there, was the Greendale survey.
well, it'd be weird if it was,
Greenfield.
Franklin.
Yeah.
So these are just some very high-level survey conclusions, and obviously come up with some of your own conclusions as you go through it. But safety remains Greendale's top strength. Low crime is the most important reason people live here. Residents are very satisfied overall with safety and public safety services. There is opportunity for improvement in pedestrian safety, and we talk about that a lot. But my overarching thought is we can't take public safety for granted, given its importance to residents. The second point is the balancing of affordability and infrastructure, which is a challenge that we hear about and think about all the time. People want to pay less in taxes, but they want the roads improved, they want drainage improved. And these are just kind of competing concepts that there's no perfect answer other than to find the right balance. So the satisfaction with the roads and infrastructure was relatively low, but residents do, as a positive, support the level of investment that we laid out in our infrastructure plan and the costs. So that was a positive. Again, affordability concerns are high. Taxes, assessments, overall affordability are top issues. Residents are more supportive of service consolidation and in user fees, but not a wheel tax, than they are of service cuts or referendums. So again, cuts was the least supported thing. So obviously we want to try to work around the edges and be as efficient as possible, but I think the community does not want to see cuts to, and particularly public safety as a municipal service. Southridge redevelopment draws broad interest. Code enforcement and property home upkeep remains a notable concern. The recycling hours meet the current resident preferences as they currently are. The village spending on the community events is generally aligned with public expectations. And then Daffodil Park feedback generally mixed, with the strongest support for replacing or repairing existing walkways compared to adding new amenities. And so that is the summary report. Very appreciative everybody took the time that took the survey. It was a long survey. It was a long survey by design. And so we appreciate everyone that took the time, put a lot of thought into it, and all the staff members that assisted with it, and the board for their feedback. Again, we'll put this report on the village website along with all the open-ended responses as well, so you can kind of look through all that. And I guess with that, any thoughts or questions, or I guess any overall observations that you think should be part of some of that conclusion stuff?
Go ahead. Just Heather.
Just one quick observation. I didn't see any mention of the rock this time.
Yeah, so if you compare the open-ended responses, there's maybe 3 or 4 open-ended responses in 2022 about the rock noise. I didn't see a single one in this one.
So maybe that's calmed down and gotten better.
Wasn't there one there that talked about noise or something though?
There's a question how people's level of satisfaction with noise nuisance issues, just is it a concern? And it was not a high concern.
I have to say it was nice to see more people respond to it. the more people that respond, the better you can use as a true gauge for what's out there. I mean, if you get 3% responding, it's not that good. So we did have a lot more. I wish we would have had more of the paper forms. I think that it is more of the elderly people that don't use computers and that would have filled it out. One thing on the statistic here, I'm just asking, I think I sent you an email, but when you did the percentage, did you take out all the people under 18, the children? Because really, the survey is for homeowners, really, so you wouldn't do the percentage against 14,000 population, you do it against 11,000, right?
Yeah, well, and it was homeowners and renters, but yeah, so we showed a percentage of the total number of households for that reason. So we asked for one response per household, and then as far as a percentage, we showed it as a percentage of households.
Households, okay.
Unless you know of any households that are ran by children. I guess mine is.
They all are.
Actually most of them are. Maybe the head of household really is about 5
The
years old.
consensus here would be quite a few. Okay, and this will be on our website too?
Yeah, so we should have this report up tomorrow.
So for those of the 800 people that are probably watching us tonight, you'll be able to review this in detail on our website, so.
Yep, and like I said, we wanted to get the results right in front of everybody as we're getting further into the budget process, so as it plays into some different things to look at or decisions, that we at least have some data to look at.
Any other comments, questions?
No.
Feedback?
Great job.
Yeah, good job.
Yep.
Moving on then,
And we have no more PowerPoints the rest of this meeting. Promise.
I was gonna recommend we have at least one or two more. But,
Okay. Well, maybe Rod does.
Rod, you got a PowerPoint?
yeah, you got a PowerPoint? I do. Good. BOT 25, 106. Discussion necessary action for special event permit request from the Public Celebrations Committee for the Halloween Parade on October 26, 2025.
All right, thank you. Trustee Feckmeyer kind of touched on this earlier, so this is for the Halloween parade that will be happening this weekend, Sunday, October 26th, beginning at 2:30 p.m. and ending around 3 p.m. The parade will start at the intersection of Southway and Broad Street and proceed on Broad Street to Schoolway. The staging for the event will take place at J.C. Park at 2 p.m. Any vehicles that are going to be a portion of that parade will be on Catalpa. After the parade's completed, Gift of Wings will be supplying some candy, and some PCC members will be helping hand it out. Barricades will be supplied by the DPW Friday before the event. The police department is going to assist with putting those out and breaking them back down after the parade's complete. The village manager, police chief, and myself have reviewed this with no conditions, along with the PCC members on the October 4th meeting. Estimated cost for it is around $146 for staff time to put out the barricades and pick them up.
I want to start by saying I like that shirt.
Thanks.
It's pretty cool.
Had it a long time.
Looks great. Never seen you wear it. Well, I'm going to make a motion to approve the special event permit request from the Public Celebrations Committee for the Halloween Parade on October 26th, 2025.
Second the motion?
Questions at all? I see none, so I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Trustee Barbian?
Aye.
Trustee Stout?
Aye.
Trustee Unger?
Aye.
Trustee Feckmeyer?
Aye.
Trustee McFall?
Aye.
Trustee Elect?
Aye.
Very good. Parade.
We'll have one.
Okay, next item on our list is BOT 25-107. Discuss the necessary action for special event permit request from the Badgerland Striders for the Turkey Trot on November 9th, 2025.
So the Badgerland Striders Incorporated has submitted an event application for their annual Turkey Trot event scheduled to be held at Whitnall Park Beer Gardens on November 9th, 2025 from 9:30 to 12 p.m. The event is a club run that runs through Root River Parkway. It includes complimentary food and beverages. Barricades will be placed on the southbound Root River Parkway as well on Grange Avenue eastbound at Root River Parkway and 92nd Street to ensure participant safety. The village manager, police chief, and myself have reviewed this along with PCC with no conditions. There's nothing requested from the village, so there are no fiscal implications.
I'll move to approve the special event permit request from the Badgerland Striders for the Turkey Trot on November 9th, 2025.
Second motion?
Can I make it contingent upon payment of the special event application?
Absolutely.
Contingent upon payment of the special event application.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Yeah, we've done this many, many years, and I love going out there watching those turkeys. They try to
Oh, yeah.
They, the way they
All right.
walk in order, it's great. Should do. So I'll ask for a roll call.
Trustee Barbian.
Aye.
Trustee Sal.
Aye.
Trustee Unger.
Aye.
Trustee Beckmeyer.
Aye.
Trustee McFall.
Aye.
Trustee Olet.
We should have gobbled.
Yeah.
Next item, BOT 25-108. Discuss the necessary action, a special event permit request from the Public Celebrations Committee for a Dickens of a Village on December 5th, 2025, and to declare it as a public celebration day.
So Public Celebrations Committee submitted their event application for Dickens of a Village. The event will take place Friday, December 5th, 2025, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. in the downtown area of the village. Event activities will include indoor musical performance at the village's host tower, food trucks located in the northeast portion of Grand Haven's parking lot, live reindeer, and a visit from Santa Claus. In addition to the live outdoor performance, a Christmas carol is planned to take place at the J&J parking lot. There will also be a shuttle service provided from the high school to the downtown area, and hay rides will also be available through the downtown area for attendees. The village manager, police chief, and myself reviewed this along with the BCC with no conditions. Staff time estimates about $1,515 for this event to take place.
I'll make a motion to approve the special event permit request from the Public Celebrations Committee on December 5th, 2025, and to declare it a Public Celebrations Day.
Second motion?
Any discussion on this topic?
It's a great event. Good job, Colleen
It
and
is.
Betty.
Always, we hope for great weather.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd like a roll call on this, please.
Trustee Barbian.
Affirmative.
Trustee Sal.
Aye.
Trustee Unger.
Aye.
Trustee Beckmeyer.
I think I can vote, right?
Yeah.
Aye.
Trustee McFall.
Aye.
Trustee Olet.
Wow.
Next item, BOT 25-109, discussion necessary action regarding extension of premises application from Vintage 38 for the tree lighting, November 28th, and Dickens and Village December 5th event.
I guess that's me. It's just the two spots in front of her door like she does for every event. It is noted that tree lighting has not been brought forth, so the approval is contingent upon the approval of the tree lighting event.
I'll make a motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Vintage 38 during Dickens of a Village on December 5th, 2025, and during the tree lighting on November 28th, 2025, contingent on the approval of the event application for the tree lighting.
So you
Second
haven't
motion.
received the application for tree lighting, is what you're saying?
Yeah, we'll have to do it.
What type of application do they submit?
Special event.
Isn't that a village event?
I know, I didn't think we did do that for that.
Tree lighting, yeah.
Hey, Rod. Look at it then.
Last year as a
Okay.
special event.
Well, I'll second the motion.
Thank you. I was hanging out there for a while.
I thought I just did.
Controversial.
Okay, we'll do it. Yeah.
It's good that you brought it up. I'll ask for a roll call. So I don't see any questions.
Trustee Barbian.
Affirmative.
Trustee Sal.
Aye.
Trustee Unger.
Aye.
Trustee Beckmeyer.
Aye.
Trustee McFall.
Aye.
Trustee Olet.
Next item, BOT 25-110, discuss the necessary action to update the Greendale Panther Pub LCC 565 Broad Street premise description.
Greendale Panther Pub needs to update or amend their premises description. It was a full-service restaurant, bar, and patio with occupancy of 99 persons. They did not include their upstairs where they store their liquor and where their office is. That includes all their invoices, so any of that stuff that includes any liquor or any of the invoices belonging to liquor needs to be included in the premise. So the new premise would read as full-service restaurant, bar, and patio, and units A, E, and D upstairs. So they have multiple rooms upstairs, so they had to assign them a unit or a suite number to indicate which ones.
How did that come up?
They were visited by the DOR.
Oh.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the updated premises description for Greendale's Panther Pub for the 2025-2026 licensing year,
Yep.
as presented.
Second the motion.
So they're just doing that, right?
Yeah, so this is just gonna
Yeah.
update their premises
Okay.
description. That'll be, and then I'll issue them a new license, so it'll be updated, yeah.
Good.
We have old forms and things that say premise, which is the incorrect word. It's premises, and trustee Sell did a great job pronouncing it, but it doesn't roll off the tongue for everybody, so it's an adjustment that it's premises is a physical area, just to make sure we're using it.
And Melanie, would you concur with that word?
It's premises.
Yeah, okay.
Well, you say extension of premises all the time, don't you? Or don't we?
Well, it's kind of an inside joke, because we've said extension of premise, even our old attorney said extension of premise.
Okay.
But premise is like a type of statement, a premise, and then a
Yeah.
premises is an
the-
area.
Got it.
So, for some reason, that got stuck in my head and was a pet peeve, and I was like, you guys, we gotta start doing this right. And, it's in the progress,
Awesome.
work in progress.
Keep focused on it and put that on your fourth quarter agenda for your management goals. I feel
yeah.
strongly about this.
Top of your
Goals.
To the taxpayers, we're not really spending a lot of time working on this, but
Goals for 2026.
I would ask for a roll call.
Trustee Barbian?
Aye.
Trustee Sal?
Aye.
Trustee Unger?
Aye.
Trustee Beckmeyer?
Aye.
Trustee McFall?
Aye.
Trustee Alette?
On the officer reports, they were all turned in. Any questions of our division heads here? I thought they were well done. I mean, as always, it's tough to have any questions because they answer all the information that you need on there, but any questions at all?
Well, I just want to say, I really appreciate Inspector Mark's updates from the fire department. I really learn a lot from his updates. Talking about the businesses in the industrial park that are leaving,
Yeah.
I mean, just things you don't hear every day. So he does a really great job. And I think I've shared that with him, but I just wanted to say it here too. Thank you.
They're very homey, They're cute, like his updates too.
Very good. Any other questions? Right. And just please keep going. It's an excellent job that you're doing. Appreciate it. Next item is the second citizen comments. Person wishing to address the board are asked to state their name and address for residence for the record and limit the comments to only one time and limit their comments to 3 minutes or 5 minutes if you're representing a group or persons. Citizens' comments shall be limited to a period not to exceed 30 minutes. Public comment should be addressed by the village board as a body. Any questions or comments directed to an individual trustee or staff person will be deemed out of order. Please note that the village board can only discuss matters listed on the agenda. The second citizens' comments, it's open. Please line up and form a line to the left.
Good evening, Kathy Vincent, 6803 West Grange Avenue. I'm actually going to speak as county supervisor on behalf of those residents in Greendale who use MCTS. But I want to start first by thanking the 5 trustees who showed up last night to my town hall. It was well attended. There were about 25 residents there. So thank you, Colleen, Robbie, Donna, Elaine, and Ron for being there last night. I think we got to hear some good conversation of people's concerns about the upcoming budget. I want to remind everyone that there is a budget hearing next Monday, October 27th, from 6 until 8 at the Mitchell Park Domes. The domes will be opening at 5 p.m. and they are open for people to tour through and then to attend the hearing if they're interested. So I do have a residence that I have to call back tonight. I've heard from about a half a dozen residents so far about the Milwaukee County Transit System. And so I am here on behalf of them, as well as my role as the county supervisor, to say that I need your support to also help me determine if this is what we would like to have that 24 route continue to come down through the village. Right now, the proposed cuts that they talked about at last night's meeting and that have been talked about in the budget are to remove the route from coming to downtown Greendale. They would stop at Southridge. And so individuals who were used to coming down to the village either by the 24 bus or needing that 24 bus to get elsewhere in Milwaukee County would no longer have access. I have a gentleman who called me the last time I did advocate to keep that. He just called me again today from work. He's not home until 8, so I'll give him a call back. But it is something I'd like to advocate for, because I think even if we have 1 or 2 residents, that this is their lifeline to get to work. I think we need to be concerned about that. That is my job as the county supervisor, to be that voice at the county level. Last time I was successful in making that happen, and I feel I will have some leverage again this time. Those of you that attended the town hall last night know that there was quite a bit of discussion about MCTS. It didn't get, I don't want to say it got heated, but it was pretty emotional for some individuals, because one of the residents, for instance, who lives on Basswood, said that, as she's aging, she's not going to be able to walk across the street to Southridge to catch the bus. And so I think we need to think about all of our demographics here in Greendale. A lot of people do have cars, but we don't always know the people that are relying on that lifeline. So I'd like to see if I can get some feedback from you guys, Manager Hawes, to see what impact that has on the village itself. If there's any data that shows that we're getting, so many people into our businesses. I know it's hard to do that. MCTS has a lot of data already because they scan as people are coming on the buses. But so I do want to advocate for these residents, but I also want your input, because you guys are all connected through the constituents that you serve as well. And I just really want to know, as this budget is getting tighter for the county, what is it going to be that I need to, place my focus on? I will also say Scout Lake came up a little bit yesterday. I'm in the process of drafting an amendment. They are saying it will get in next year's budget, but I'm not holding my hat on that, because I was told 4 years ago when I became a supervisor that, it has to go through this process, and it has gone through the process. I've saw it through. It currently has planning and design done, so the next phase is to fund the project. It's $1.6 million to do the parking lot and pathway. So I may not be voting in favor of the budget this year if that project is not in there. But again, Colleen took the time this summer to go with me over there. It's really in bad condition, and it's not safe for people with wheelchairs or walkers or difficulty walking. So that is something that I am pushing for, and I will be coming up with an amendment to see that possibly exceeds our, we have like a cap that we want as a county to stay within, but I may be exceeding the bonding cap to do that. But I do have support of a lot of my fellow supervisors. So again, I want to thank you guys for coming last night. I think these town halls are important. There will be more to come about Trimborn. They're willing to come out here and have another session with the community to get input on that. And I'm out of time almost, so thank you guys.
Good job. Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you.
I'm not commenting to what you're saying necessarily, but you weren't here for our first citizens' comments. There were comments on the first one on the buses also. You should watch our video, and then you'll be able to see hear what they say.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Joe.
Joe Russ, 5599 Basswood Street. Normally, I sit in the audience and hear the board comment on the fire and police department response times.
Could I just sit?
On Monday,
and
September
ask him
22nd,
to give his address of residence? I know we've asked him multiple times.
I'm the only
Because it
person in
says,
20...
persons wishing to address the board are asked to state their name and address of residence for the board. It's just that that's what everybody else does. I think we should be.
How, in 20 years of coming to meetings, I've never had, I mean, I'm the only person that's been asked. I mean, if you're looking for a
No one else
discrimination suit, well, you don't try, you don't verify anybody else's. So, anyway, may I proceed?
So what is the correct address?
May I proceed?
Yeah, actually, I didn't hear what address did,
5599 Bassford Street.
He doesn't live, it's not his place of residence.
How do you know?
Chair.
Do what it says in the
I've done what I've
citizens'
given an
comments,
address.
state your place of residence.
I've given.
I don't know what the big
I
deal
would
is, it's
suggest-
just
I
that
would-
we should be consistent.
I would suggest, I mean, it's up to the chair to run the meeting. I would suggest that we don't, try to verify, where people lives. If he's on record saying this is my address of residence, then that's what he says, and then move on.
Okay, even though it's not true. Okay, just for the record, it's not true.
okay, let's proceed.
Okay. Normally, I sit in the audience and hear the board comment on fire and police department response times. On Monday, September 22nd, I got to experience that in person. I would like to thank the Greendale Fire and Police Department for the quick response. After not seeing or being able to contact my elderly tenant, who I've had for 22 years, during that weekend, I decided to call the police for a welfare check. Their response was quick, likely less than 4 minutes. I explained to the officers the situation and had a spare key to let them in. After checking the lower level, they went upstairs, and me and my neighbors, standing in the driveway, saw the bathroom light come on and stay on. At this point, my neighbors and I were very concerned. Less than 2 minutes later, it seemed like an eternity, I heard sirens coming from the safety center. About a minute later, an ambulance pulled up in front of my property. At that time, one of the officers came out of the house and said, and said, "She's in rough shape, but alive." There were a few tears and hugs between my neighbors and I. Apparently, she had fallen into a dry bathtub and was unable to get out of the tub for days. She is now in a nearby rehab facility. Her family has decided she should no longer live alone and will not be returning. This is an opportunity to remind everybody that if you have an elderly or disabled neighbor or tenant, and if you notice something unusual, like I did, act on it and call for a welfare check. It could save a life. Again, thank you to the police and fire departments for the quick response and the great care they gave my tenant. Since I have a little bit of extra time regarding the Southridge situation, the green loop looks a whole lot like a green belt, and I think a green belt would be a more appropriate name for a Greendale institution. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Great job on calling for that lady, too.
Other residents? Jeff, you're it. Okay. Then I'm going to close the citizens' comments. I'm looking for a motion to, first I'll read. The board shall convene closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 1985 1E to deliberate and negotiate the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, and conducting other special public businesses whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session. Specifically regarding the redevelopment in the Southridge Mall area, the board will not be returning to open session to act on matters discussed. So I'm looking for.
Motion to adjourn.
Session.
Motion to go into closed session.
Motion to go into closed session.
Nice try.
Could you amend it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's,
Second.
I did.
we're going into closed
Go
session.
into closed session.
Going to have a roll call on going into closed session.
Trustee Barbian?
Aye.
Trustee Sell?
Aye.
Trustee Unker?
Aye.
Trustee Fechner?
Aye.
Trustee McFall?
Aye.
Trustee Olet?
Aye.
Closed session is.
There was a lady.